So typically, games are won by the team that makes the fewest mistakes, whether it be penalties or turnovers. But the Green Bay Packers are defying odds and showing that they are one of the top contenders to go to the Super Bowl this season because they're doing it despite losing those categories. In fact, just a year ago, the Green Bay Packers were one of the league leaders. They were finished top five in the league a year ago in takeaways, and they had 31 of them, 17 interceptions, 14 fumbles. And they spent a lot of the offseason saying, okay, how can we get better? How can we create more takeaways and turnovers? But yet they've gone the opposite direction. And despite doing that, they're still right there, one of the better defenses in the league. And we're not even talking about sacks, because sacks right now, I think the Packers are ranked 19th in the league overall, but they're creating lots of pressure on opposing quarterbacks, which then is translating into a lot of quick passes, a lot of dump passes, which it's difficult for a defense to create takeaways unless you're going to play incredibly aggressive, which is risky to play up. But Halfley, it's going to be interesting to see how he sees that and how he adjusts with that, because he's already thinking about how do we create more turnovers and takeaways. Matt LaFleur has said, hey, man, it would be nice to win that category. It would be nice to get the ball in the in with really great field position due to a takeaway or even having additional possessions. It makes it easier. The odds certainly are in your favor if you win those categories. But that being said, it is something that the Packers are addressing. They're talking about quite heavily on how do we win this category? How do we turn the tide when it comes to takeaways? But despite that, let's take a look at where the Green Bay Packers land defensively. As of right now, total yards per game allowed, the Packers are ranked fifth in the league in yards allowed at 280.2. That Dallas game didn't help. Otherwise, the Packers would be much higher on that category. But as far as rushing yards allowed, the Green Bay Packers are ranked first in the league in that category, 73 yards a game allowed by this Packer defense. And keep in mind, that is while losing your all pro tackle in Kenny Clark, and the Packers didn't skip a beat in that category. What about points allowed per game? The Green Bay Packers are very successful. They're ranked ninth in the league in that category at allowing 20.4. Again, putting up or allowing 40 for the Dallas Cowboys in that didn't help those numbers. Otherwise, the Packers would be much higher on this list, around third or fourth in the NFL. But as that sits, it is what it is. The Packers are ranked ninth, and the Packers have a great defense. This is a very, very special defense. And if they can figure out ways to adjust, again, maybe it's playing more aggressively, putting more pressure on the quarterback. They're already one of the league leaders in pressures against opposing quarterbacks, but the Packers are one of the better ones to do it. And then you take a look at another category of giving the ball away and turnovers. How are they stacking up against that? Well, number 1 and 2 in the league are the Chiefs and the Buccaneers at 2 turnovers that they've allowed on their offense. And the Packers have only allowed 3, tied with the Lions and the Eagles. So that is very good. The Packers are protecting the ball. Again, we look at a year ago. Where did the Packers sit just a year ago in that category? Well, at this point in time, they were one of the league leaders. They were giving the ball away too much. So much so to where a lot of people out there were saying, man, is Jordan Love the guy that we all thought he was, because he's not protecting the ball, and the Packers aren't protecting the ball, but they certainly are protecting the ball. And they've cleaned up that category. They've cleaned up drop passes, all of those. So it's making it incredibly great. The turn a year ago. Okay, so let's take a look at the injury report heading into tomorrow's game against the Arizona Cardinals. You've got our offensive line is banged up. Okay. We all know that. You've got guys like Aaron Banks. You got guys like Jacob Monk, Jordan Morgan, Zach Tom, all on that list. And it's imperative that the Green Bay Packers stay as healthy as they can. It's imperative for any team to stay as healthy as they can. But for our offense, really need to gel better. They need to just have more confidence out there. They seem to be lacking some of that. Now Jordan Love hasn't been sacked much. He's been very mobile with his athleticism this year. But all that being said, the Packers aren't playing up to the caliber in which they are capable of doing that with a full, healthy offensive line out there, and yet they're still having a ton of success out there. So this is a Packer team that is legitimate. Okay, this is a Super Bowl contender at a minimum. Okay, so who's out in tomorrow's game? You've got Lucas Van Ness, Christian Watson, Devontae Wyatt, all. The only one that is a kind of a surprise to me is the Devontae Wyatt. That knee injury didn't look as bad a couple weeks ago, but it's certainly looking to be problematic for him. Hopefully he can come back this upcoming week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. What a game that's going to be, but you can't look past games. Speaking of which, you got the Arizona Cardinals this week, and you've got limited practice was Marvin Harrison, and then he was a full practice on Friday. But what about their quarterback, Kyler Murray? Well, it's looking more and more like he's not going to be playing due to the fact that he has been taking reps with the second team out there. Kyler Murray limited, Marvin Harrison Jr. in concussion protocol. Looks like Harrison Jr. is going to be a full go. But as far as Kyler Murray goes, that doesn't seem to be the case, which means that Jacoby Brissett is going to be the guy. And he looked like the guy for them. In fact, he looked maybe a little bit better than what Kyler Murray has all year so far. But this is a veteran quarterback that stepped up against the Indianapolis Colts just a week ago. He was 27 of 44. He threw the ball a ton, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Can the Packers create that interception defensively? Can Jeff Hafley get an interception or two or a takeaway, whether it's a fumble, interception? I don't care how they come, as long as the Packers start stacking those up and they start creating the turnovers and takeaways. Can you imagine the outcomes of these games? And the Packers are 3-1-1. Can you imagine if they are winning the turnover category? Imagine a world where that happens. The Packers are going to be certainly a force to be reckoned with, but looks like they're going to have to be facing Jacoby Brissett, which it seems like the Arizona Cardinals are probably better with him out there at the moment. I'm not saying as a whole, but they seem to be looking better, at least the 1 week they did against the Indianapolis Colts, who is looking like a very good team out there. But leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts. This is a very, very good Packer team. They are not having the success that they had in takeaways a year ago, but I do think they're going to turn the corner, I think, as early as this week. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been protecting the ball, like he does or has in the past. And the Packers could find themselves with back-to-back takeaway winning those categories back-to-back weeks. Let me know your thoughts, and as always, go Pack Go.